All right, so for quiz number 2 review, everything has to do with factoring, like I just mentioned off recording here. So we're going to just start simplifying all these things. Okay, we want to find out what they have in common. Do I have to factor just the GCF or X method or difference of two squares, all that type of stuff. So for this problem right here, I have a top and I have a bottom portion, right? So I'm going to start with the top. I have a 6x squared minus a 3x. Do they have anything in common in this case, the top? A 3 and an x, right? So let me take out a 3x for the top. If I take out a 3x, then what's left over is going to be a 2x minus a 1. Remember, that 1 is there because the 3x gets factored out completely. That means there'd be nothing there. So you always got to keep your placeholder there. So it's just going to be a 1. And then on the bottom, it's only a single term, right? 24x. If you guys remember what I told you last week, when you have a monomial, there's nothing to factor. When there's only one term, it's just that term. So that means 24x does not factor. You're just going to write 24x. All right. So I'm done with factoring. Now I got to do the chopping, right? So I cannot do this. Remember, don't cancel like that, okay? The x on the inside of the parentheses should stay there unless there's another 2x minus 1. So, I'm sorry about that. So that's that. It's there. But I can get rid of the x's on the outside, and I can reduce the 3 and the 24. So let me do that. I'm going to reduce this 3 to a 1 and 24 to an 8, because 3 goes into 24 8 times. And then I can cancel those x's, right? So this x will get canceled with this x right here. So my final answer for this thing, on top, I have a 1, which I don't have to write, but there is a 2x minus 1 there. And on the bottom will just be an 8. All right, and this will be your answer for that problem. Remember, these problems, as tough as they might look, they're not meant to be difficult if you know how to factor, right? That's why I told you guys they made us do 3 factoring sections prior to us getting into it, because they have to make sure you're good at it. If you're good at it, then this isn't terribly difficult, right? When you struggle with it, then you struggle here. So hopefully you guys have done, like I said, done the homework and practice, and you feel a little more confident with it. So here's the first one. Any questions on this one? All right, so here's the second one. So we're kind of doing easy, medium, difficult, just because there's a sprinkling of everything on the quiz. So now for this problem right here, a lot of people, what they want to do is they see the 10 over 2t and they're like, oh, 10 over 2, I can reduce that, right? But I'm going to tell you to just kind of like pump the brakes on that really quick. Look at the right side. That's a 2t over 1. And diagonally, you guys can cancel that completely, right? 2t and 2t will cancel out. Okay? So all that's left, if I write it out, will be 10 over 1 times 1 over 1, which is basically 10. So yes, there's problems like this on your quiz. I didn't just make these up. Like I'm looking at your quiz, I'm saying, oh, there's things like that. Let me just show it to them. So there are going to be some problems where you don't see two fractions, right? You might see like a 10 over 2t, that's one fraction. And then you just see like a 2t or a 4k or something on its own. Make it a fraction and then try to see if you can simplify it. All right, so hopefully that one's okay. But that one should be pretty easy. I think that I saw at least 2 that are similar to this. Okay, your quiz is front and back. I know it's only over 2 sections and it should be easy in a sense because it's only 2 sections. But these problems aren't always quick, so they might take you a little while. Okay, so just make sure you guys are are aware of that. It's not that it's only 2 sections, shouldn't be a big deal. Like it might take you a while. There are some of these as well where they've already pre-factored everything for you. So all you have to do is just kind of knock stuff down. Now I recommend chopping off the binomials first and then rewrite your problem and then go after the reducing of numbers, right? Like the 6/12s and stuff like that. So the first thing I would tell you that I would do is basically put a parenthesis right there just to say, hey, there's a binomial. Okay, what can I cancel out? X minus 3, all right. What else? X plus 1s, right? So basically, I can get rid of all the binomials. Now, I know I can still do more with the 6/12x, but like I said, I'm just going to wait. Let me rewrite this. I don't want to get too messy when I'm doing my work. What's left on the right side? 1/1, right? Because there's nothing else there. Now, 6/12 can be reduced. 6 goes into itself once, into 12 twice. So this is what I got. 1/2x times 1, which doesn't do anything, right? So I'm just going to write this. And again, there are questions like this on your quiz. It's not that these are completely different. Like there are at least 2 or 3 of them that are pre-factored for you. Okay, so just remember you're looking for binomials first. Get rid of the big chunks first, then go after the small pieces. Again, you can do everything at once. It's up to you. I would probably do everything at once because I'm used to it, so it doesn't scare me to get a little messy, right? I just try to be as neat as possible as I do that. But if you want, just chop off the binomials first, rewrite, and then chop off the monomial part after that. All right, so we're halfway through this this review. Still haven't done anything too complicated. We'll try getting to that at least on the last 2. Because there are a lot of problems on your quiz where you are going to have to do a lot of factoring, okay, for just one problem. So we're getting there. All right, so here we're starting to get into the multiplication part where we have more than just like pre-factor stuff. So I'm going to look at I have 2 fractions, left and right. So I'm going to look at the top left, okay? All I see on the top left is a 4. Remember what I told you about monomials. You don't have to factor those. It's just a 4. 12x plus 8, what do they have in common? A 4. So I'll take a 4 out. And when I do that, I'll have a 3x plus 2. All right. Top right side, 30x plus 20. What do they have in common? A 10. So let me take a 10 out. This will give me a 3x plus 2 inside of the parenthesis. And then on the bottom, I have an x minus 2. Now notice it's not a monomial. That's a binomial. So whenever it's a binomial, you got to ask yourself the same questions. What do they have in common? Do they have anything in common? X minus 2? Besides the 1? No, right? Is that a difference of 2 squares? X minus 2. What do you guys think? See some of you guys saying yes, see some of you guys saying no. What does there have to be on the letter if it's a difference of 2 squares? A square. Does my x have a square on the bottom right? No. So it's not a difference of 2 squares. So that's done, okay? That's done. So that's the dead giveaway. There should be a power of 2 like that on the variable at least, okay? In order for it to even have a chance, there needs to be a power of 2 there. But there isn't. So it's not a difference of 2 squares. Okay? So that means that's just going to be an x minus 2. All right, let's start chopping. What can I get rid of? 3x plus 2's. Anything else that looks easy to get rid of? The 4 and the 4, right? I know I told you to wait, but notice I'm not reducing it. I'm literally getting rid of it, right? For the reduction stuff, I'll tell you, take a little step. Relax, take a step. But if you can get rid of all of it, then get rid of all of it. So On the left side, everything is gone, so I'm going to put 1 over 1. On the right side, I have 10 over x minus 2. Can I reduce the 10 with the 2? No, right? That 2 is stuck in that parenthesis. The only way you can get rid of that 2 is to get rid of the x minus as well. And the only way you can get rid of that is if you have a matching piece, okay? So we're done. Just multiply this out. This will be 10 over x minus 2. Let me try to fix that here. Are we okay with this one? So again, still haven't gotten to anything like that difficult yet. I guess I don't want to say difficult, that complicated. Okay. So right now we're going to kind of move into a little bit of complicated. Notice this is not a multiplication problem. This is just a fraction. So we're just going to basically factor and reduce as much as we can. Just so you can see ahead, and I'll get back to this. But this is what number 6 looks like. Okay. So there will be stuff like that. There'll also be stuff like this. So you see 3 terms automatically, hopefully the light bulb goes off and you're like, oh, trinomial, X method, right? Or box method, whatever you prefer to do. But we're going to have to do that. We're going to do that on top. We're going to do that on the bottom. Okay? So let's start off with the top side. So I'm going to do some scratch work over here on the right side. 4n squared minus 6n plus 2, where a is 4. B is negative 6, and C is 2. Again, I'm just going to do my x here. So 8 times C, that's 8. B is negative 6. I need 2 numbers that multiply to 8 that add up to negative 6. Negative 4 and what? Negative 2. Thank you. But since A is equal to 4, I got to divide, right? So this will be a negative 1 and a negative half. Remember, since A is equal to 4, not 1, then I do have to divide. I won't have to divide for the bottom one, but I did have to do it for the top one. So here is my, my set of factors. This will be n minus 1, n minus half, but we'll fix that. That's n minus 1, 2n minus 1. Remember, no fractions on that factor, so we got to move that denominator over. So let me write that out. The top part is going to be n minus 1, 2n minus 1. Divided by. All right. Now let's do the denominator. N squared minus 2n plus 1. Okay, I'm just going to do a little squiggly line here, just to denote that this is another piece here. So n squared minus 2n plus 1. So a is 1, b is negative 2, c is 1. So when I do the x method, 1 times 1 is 1, b is negative 2, that goes in the bottom. What 2 numbers multiply to positive 1 add up to negative 2? All right, so negative 1, negative 1. I don't have to divide by anything because it's a 1. So my answer will be n minus 1, n minus 1. Remember, don't combine them because since we're trying to chop things off, leaving them expanded allows you to see how many things they have in common. So n minus 1, n minus 1. Let me write that in. So what do I chop? An n minus 1. It doesn't matter which one you do. You could do this one and that one if you want. Most people prefer just going straight down, though. It just looks cleaner, right? Can I get rid of the 2n minus 1 with the n minus 1 on the bottom? No, right? The 2 doesn't match, so I got to leave it alone. So here's my answer. 2n minus 1, n minus 1. All right, so we got one more of these things. Again, you don't have homework tonight. I mean, your homework is to go over this, go over your homework, get your homework done, right? Maybe finish your ALEKS if you haven't done it yet. And remember, guys, when you're doing your ALEKS, I know as much as it may not be the most fun thing you've ever done, try doing those extra 5 consistently, okay? Because trust me, there's going to be a time when something, even if you're really good at this stuff, there's going to be a time when maybe you mess up. And that set of extra credits towards the end will help you. I think I calculated it. I don't know if I told you guys, but I think I did tell all my classes. If I get every single assignment we did last semester, okay, for ALEKS, and I total up, if I total up the total amount of extra credit you could have earned, okay, there was a possibility for your grade to go up anywhere from 8 to 10%. Your grade could have been 8 to 10% higher, possibly, okay? Some people a little bit lower because they already have like really high grades, so the extra credit only helps a little, so theirs can vary like 2 to 3%. But for those of you guys that had like C's and D's, that could be anywhere from 5 to 10, okay? Because when your grades are lower, extra credit pulls up harder. It pulls up more, okay? So get it done. Don't get lazy. You know, I do the same thing with my own kids at home. Anytime like they have an extra credit assignment, I'm like, do it. They're like, well, I don't need it. I'm like, you might, and then you're going to regret not doing it. So you get it done. So I don't know if they always do it, but I always tell them, I'm like, just do it. There's no reason why not to. So here's the last example, okay? For this one, we have 4 binomials at least, right? We have 2 trinomials, 2 binomials. So we're going to have to check 4 different parts. All right, so there's going to be a lot of scratch work and stuff like that. So, you know, I normally do that all to the side. So do it however you like. So let's start with the left side fraction top part. Okay, so left side fraction top part. I'm just going to kind of put this here. All right, so a squared minus 4a plus 3. A is equal to 1. B is negative 4. C is 3. So I'm going to multiply these 8 times C, put on top here, that's 3. And B is negative 4. So 2 numbers that multiply to 3 that add up to negative 4. Well, only 2 numbers multiply to 3. 1 and 3. But since I need it to be negative, negative, negative. Right, they got to add up to a negative 4. And A is 1, so I don't have to divide. So I just get A minus 1, A minus 3. So let me put that on the top left. Excuse me. So now I have 4a plus 32. That's my next part. What does that have in common? 4a plus 32, the bottom left corner. Let me change this here. Is there a number that divides 4 and 32? 4. 4, right? So 4 goes out. This will be a plus 8. Oops. Trying to think here. Did I mess up on something? Give me a second. Let me check. All right. So, I have a squared minus 2a minus 80. A squared minus 2a minus 80. Where a is 1, b is negative 2, C is negative 80. If I multiply A times C, that's negative 80. And B is negative 2. So what two numbers multiplied at 80 that could give me a 2? A negative 10 and an 8. Okay, so negative 10 and a positive 8. Yeah, and I don't have to divide them because A is 1. So this would be A minus 10, A plus 8. So let me go ahead and put that on the top right side. A minus 10, A plus 8. And now we look at the bottom right side. It just says A minus 10. A minus 10, do they have a GCF? No, right? It's just a 1. And is it a difference of two squares? No, because the A is not squared. Remember, the letter at least has to be squared. So now we start chopping. Okay, what can I get rid of? All right, and then someone said A plus 8 as well. I heard that. Anything else? No, that's pretty much it. So the right side fraction is completely gone. That's just a 1 over 1. Is A minus 1, A minus 3 over 4 times 1 over 1. Remember, this is not a required step. I'm just doing it for those that aren't here. And then, obviously, when you multiply by 1, nothing happens. So we just have the answer of A minus 1 times A minus 3 over 4. And at that point, you're done, and you move on.